Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Edge Rowing podcast. Today we have a little bit of a different format. Today, I'm sharing an episode where I was actually being interviewed by Crowe. Maxine and I were both in the same business mentorship, and she offered to do interviews with basically loads of the business owners in our group. So I hopped on. She also kindly let me repost this. So yeah, I thought I would just share it here to our audience. If you want to find out more about Maxine and what she does, I'll just link some information in the bio. But other than that, if you're interested, enjoy this conversation where it's her asking me the questions instead of the other way around. So yeah, enjoy.
Hi, and welcome to another episode of In the Spotlight. I'm Maxine Crowe, your host, and I am absolutely delighted to be joined by Jack Burns, CEO of Edge Rowing. Jack, hi, and welcome to the show.
Hi Maxine, thanks so much for putting this on and giving me the opportunity to talk about what I do. Really excited to be here.
Brilliant. So, Jack, I'm just going to delve right in. Can you just introduce yourself to the audience and tell us what inspired you to become an entrepreneur?
So yeah, Jack Burns, founder, head coach of Edge Rowing. We work with lots of people, but mainly busy professionals. Helping them row to the best version of themselves is generally like kind of our motto. All online coaching, and I think, well, to go to the entrepreneur question, from a young age, my dad actually, he kind of started his own, it was basically like a maths education website in like 2004. So fairly early on in terms of like the kind of, making a living online, being self-employed. And that was before, I was very young at the time. I was like 10 years old, but I feel like that was quite rare. And I just kind of saw my dad, work hard for like 4 years, not really make an income for a while, took a big risk, but eventually kind of had his own thing up and running, and could work whenever he wanted. Like his day was like get up at like 4 a.m., work for a few hours, and then go golfing. And I just always thought that freedom was so cool. And I always wanted to do something like that. But then I also, later on, what I found is I just have a massive passion for sport, which ended up being rowing. And I really wanted to be involved in sport in some way or another. And then, I saw a couple other people doing online coaching. And of course, again, I've got a bit of an ego, maybe a bit competitive. I was like, I'm pretty sure I can do it better than that. Saw the opportunity and went for it. I used to be a coach in person. It was just literally like the best of both worlds. And yeah, I went from there and haven't looked back. And it's like, yeah, genuinely just the best job in the world. If I won the lottery tomorrow, like I'd still be doing what I'm doing right now. So very privileged to be in this position.
Yeah. And just thinking about, you said first of all in person and then online. How long's your business been going? How long have you been going?
So I'd say we pretty much, I kind of had the idea. I spent about a year trying to make a website and like thinking that was the most important thing for getting up and running. And you need to have this really slick WordPress, like, fancy, like with all the bells and whistles. Spent way too much time on that. So that was May 21. And then kind of got into the social media side of it a lot more. May of 22. I was coached. So I used to be a competitive rower. I was on the GB rowing team for a little bit. And then while I was trying to get into the GB team, I was coaching to support my rowing habit, basically. And it went hand in hand. And then kind of as I left the GB team, I started to transition more into the online stuff. So yeah, I'd say it started properly May 2022. So we're still still got loads and loads of work to do and stuff we want to improve on. So it's really exciting.
So you were saying it's quite interesting you said there, because you said about the website being the most important thing, but what was the learning, just for the audience? What was your learning and what changed for you?
Yeah, I think I was just the big thing was that I realized that was going to make the difference for getting people to agreed to coach with me, work with me at the start,
Yeah.
was you need to just talk about, like, you need to show people that you can help them, and speak to their problems and give them solutions. And I think one good quote I really heard is, if you want to show somebody that you can help them by working with them, you first need to help them, and do that for free. So a lot of the free content, and pretty much everybody that has signed up, um, I'm sure has been helped by the content and the advice. So putting out just really good free stuff and be like, if you find this useful, great. If you find this useful and you want to see if you're a good fit for like what we do, let's have a conversation. But then and then the other part of that was just put out our results and show like what we can do.
Yeah.
And that's at the start. That's why I was like, I just need to start coaching people online because I know that I can help them.
Yeah.
Once I started getting people online, coaching them, getting results, talking about the results that we got them, the transformations, not just the numbers, but like how we went about it and what helped, what they learned about themselves. Talk about that on social media, and just it snowballed pretty quickly from there.
Yeah. So does for the coaching online, does the person, this sounds like a really stupid question, but I'm going to ask it anyway.
Go for it.
Does the person have to have a rowing machine to be coaching
Um,
online?
yeah, probably, like, I think access to a rowing machine. So people, there's still a cost barrier for sure. But even a gym membership, you could do it
Yeah.
if you get kind of a pure gym. Like, you just need access to a rowing machine.
Yeah.
Most people are at rowing clubs, and you need a rowing club membership normally. But then you get access to boats and everything like that. So, I would say a rowing machine is up there with one of the best bang for bucks investments in terms of like rowing progress.
Yeah.
The second,
Yeah.
of course, I'm biased, I'm going to say, is getting an online coach. But
That's why
uh,
we're here.
exactly. um, but that's generally how it's set up.
So just talking about differentiation now, how, I mean, because there's lots and lots of coaches that online that are delivering certain services, especially around health and well-being. So how do you position yourself to stand out from other coaches that are in that in the sports arena?
Yeah, how do we stand out? Yeah, it's I think number one is results. Like, in our industry, I'm going to be cocky in saying this, but I think it's pretty clear. Like, there's not anybody else that has nearly as many tagged results on social media as we do. Maybe people have the same amount of results or more. If they do, they're not sharing them. So I think from our perspective, like, that's really what separates us. Um, our angle as well, we're very obsessed with maximizing people's limited amount of training time. The people we work with are pretty limited in their training windows, so
Yeah.
it's for people, and we make it clear as well, like, if you're not passionate, if you're not wanting to go for this, and say you have a 30-minute training window before work or something like that, or your kids wake up or whatever, or an hour, like, we make that very, very concentrated and focused. You know what your plan is. For me, when I was getting into the GB team, it wasn't so much a question of will I get to the Olympics and get a gold medal. I didn't. I got into the GB team, which was close.
Yeah.
But I just wanted to be in a position when I quit, I could look back and say that I did genuinely everything I possibly could within my situation to get as fast as possible. And for me, I strongly believe that's the most fulfilling way to go about it. So that's for us as well, like, our approach. And it's not so much just like, do this program, drop your scores by this much. It's, I could go on and talk so much
No.
about it. I'm so passionate about it. And I think there's so many lessons you can learn about yourself through rowing,
Yeah.
that don't just apply to making a boat go fast, but, personal development you can take elsewhere into business or education, whatever it is.
So Jack, you talk about working to get into the GB team. So that and that in itself is quite an accomplishment. So, I mean, what did you learn about yourself going through that process that you've translated into your online coaching?
Yeah, so much. So, um, the number one thing, I think the biggest thing I struggled with getting in was just training consistently. And I think my friends would ask, what's the training you do in a day? And I'll describe, 2 or 3 sessions a day. Um, anybody could like most people who are, decent amount of fitness could probably do 1 day of training. The hard part is doing that 6 days a week, 49 weeks a year on year, and being very focused with it. So the big thing I learned about myself is just maybe like the delayed gratification of getting a result, and just sort of like, I say it sometimes, it sounds brutal, but just like banging your head against a wall and just doing it without any payoff. And that's kind of like what rowing is. And there's been a lot of things in business in edge rowing when we wanted to create this new resource or build up some systems or some data analytics. I did maths at uni, so I try and work that into what we do.
Yeah.
And I'm like, huge tasks, and I'm like, just start and just take one step, and don't be afraid by this huge massive task. Like literally just like sometimes when we were rowing, hour and a half, 2 hour session in front of us, already so tired, up in Scotland as well, terrible like weather, like 2 degrees, like
Oh,
rain, and it's like, sounds very hard looking at it, and then you just go, right, get in the boat, take one stroke, then take another stroke, just go at it like that, and try and switch off that, oh, it's going to be so long. Just be in the moment and take a step
yeah.
forward. So
Yeah.
yeah, again, you'll have to stop me because I'll start ranting about this.
I'm absolutely fascinated. I was going to say what came to mind for me. So, what does the journey for a person that wants to get fit? So, okay, I love rowing. I want to take part in one of your programs. What does that journey look like for a person that's interested in your services?
Yeah, so again, they're probably we work with a wide range of abilities. We have somebody who's literally just doing like Australian Olympic trials the other day. And like she's like super high up in the ranking, doing an incredible job. And then we've got people who are in their 70s, and one person, they had a heart problem, found the rowing machine, found a love for it, found a passion. So in terms of ability, there's wide range. But the normal path is probably somebody, they rowed at university, stopped, had focused on their career, or they had a family and their life is settled. They know kind of the direction roughly of that their life
Yeah.
might be taking, and they want to just ignite that fire again.
Yeah.
Yeah, and they'll come in, make sure that they're a good fit. We're pretty particular on who we work with, because it's as much for us as it is for the athlete. Like we have to enjoy what we do as well. So yeah, and yeah, I mean they come on board, like we talk about their goals. We a big separator for us is doing it all custom as well. So it's a lot easier in the short term to do generic programs, but
Yeah.
like our model is deliver the best service. To do that, it needs to be one-to-one.
Yeah.
If that kind of answers the question.
Yeah, yeah, it does. It does. And how can people find you? Where, because I've never heard of you until I put out in the KPI group. So where can people find you to inquire about your services?
Yeah, so I spam Instagram like all the time. So Instagram jackburns.edgerowing. Yeah, just Jack Burns Edge Rowing. I'm on YouTube. I'm on Facebook. I'm not on LinkedIn. I need to get on that. But yeah, edgerowing.com as well. You can check that out.
Yeah,
But
yeah. And where do you see what's your target? So where do you see the business in the next 5 years?
well, number one is I think some good advice I remember hearing one time is like, don't forget what you did that got you to where you are now, and don't forget to keep doing that as you move forward. So number one is we just need to make sure we keep delivering with amazing one-to-one support for our athletes, keeping that there. But like, I mean, we just want to keep growing and keep helping more people. I've kind of just pulled a number out, but like it'd be incredible if we got up to like 100 athletes on our team. We're at about 40 right now, but
Yeah,
we might find we get to 60 or 80 and we're like, we just can't hold anymore.
yeah,
I'd love to have a boathouse. I'd love to have one in Florida, where people can come down. I was literally just there in February, and like
mhm.
I'm telling Pauline, my wife, all the time that she needs to find a weekend in her like medical studies to just head over and get in the sun. But yeah, and just be more involved, and maybe doing some more training camps as well in person. We did one of those, which was so much fun. Um, and yeah, just grow, just deliver people just an amazing service, and
Yeah.
have a positive and broadly have a positive impact in the sport. And yeah, my journey, loads of ups and downs, and there are a lot of things that I didn't enjoy about my journey, and
Mm.
I want to have a positive, and we want to have a positive impact in the sport, where we're changing the way people view winning, and making it far more internally um, focused, and about what's the best that you can do. Make the objective, I want to get as good as I can, not about what someone, a ranking in a race or something like that. Like
Yeah.
Kath Bishop's book. So she was a rower. She's been doing business stuff for years and years now, like foreign diplomat, incredible person. She has this great book, which I recommend to everybody, not just rowers. It's The Long Win.
Yeah.
And just kind of redefining the way we view success. Great, great book. But a lot of that stuff aligns with like what we do as well.
Yeah. Can you share the details of the book, and I'll make sure that we post it for the audience
Of
afterwards.
course. Yeah, will do.
Really brilliant. So, Jack, what's the best piece of advice that you've received as an entrepreneur?
So I haven't really worked with any like business mentors one to one. I've literally just joined one, actually. Done a lot
Mm.
of the group stuff as well. And like, a lot of the stuff we're talking about right now came from these business mentorships, and being clear on like what we do and how we do it.
Yeah.
I heard Jeff Bezos say, just talk about being customer obsessed. I think that's something for me that I've just always thought about. Is I remember hearing this cool story about how they came up with the concept for, I actually like these Amazon packages. Like,
Yeah.
how can we reduce the friction for the customer, so that when they get the package, they just have to, and then they've got their product. Like, I was like, wow, I didn't realize there was that obsession with the detail and the customer journey.
Yeah.
um, and yeah, I read his book and stuff, or the letters to shareholders book. And I just loved that obsession and attention to detail. Um, and then the other good one I heard is, do a good job, tell everybody about it.
Mm.
Um, it's just like, just be, and like, I think that's so cool about business as well, is you can maybe get some short-term success by just, marketing hacks or whatever, or
Yeah.
being good at sales. But long term, the best long-term strategy is just to make something that's really good. So, and just once you know what's good, make sure that you keep doing that, and don't get shiny object syndrome and be like, oh, we're going to completely do this new thing, and then you've not done the thing that actually got you there in the first place for 6 months, and you've lost all your clients or customers or whoever.
Yeah. And I guess with your training, it boils down to that consistency, doesn't it? So what you're consistently going out training and daily. Um, it's going to be the same for the business, isn't it? There's certain things that are rooted that you need to do day to day. I had this analogy. Have you heard of the iceberg? The iceberg
Maybe.
analogy, where everyone sees that 10% above the surface, but the 90% that's below is what you're talking about, basically, that day in, day out um, consistency.
Yeah. It's a good analogy. Yeah. I spend most of my time like staring at spreadsheets and looking at, like, most of the day, just like being locked into this, like, yeah, just obsessive sort of state. And yeah, I love that as well. Don't get me wrong, but yeah, there's just perhaps sometimes as well, I spent way too much time trying to add this one resource that actually ends up, nobody actually uses it, but
Yeah.
far better to like go for it, and yeah, failed, and those kind of cheesy quotes and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Um, but yeah, um, yeah, so much work that goes in. It's a lot of work, and I think part of the reason you have so much success from it is because if you just make something that's amazing, like, people don't want to, like, so many, you'll just beat people by making something really good, because loads of people just don't want to do the work to get there. So
That's very
it's
true.
easy, just do it, like, just like, yeah, do the work basically.
Sometimes it's about solving those problems, and I think health is now really up there in terms of, yes, we've got environment, we've got sustainability, your health and mental health is right up there. So I'm sure that there's a room for your service for a long time, for a long time to come.
Yeah, yeah, and one thing actually, I heard Daniel Priestley talk about actually right now is the baby boomers. You maybe heard as well, like the last of the baby boomers are retiring this year as well. So there's now a large population that is going to be retiring and aging, obviously, and looking to keep healthy as well. So we do like a lot of work with that sort of age group as well. So it then becomes health as well. You can compare it like maybe you can extend your life by having a healthy relationship with a sport, like less so not just being competitive. Like that's what a lot of our group is, it's being competitive, but we can then talk about like there's so many other benefits to this as well as you age. So
Yeah, yeah. You just reminded me. There's a longevity doctor in our group.
oh cool.
I'll introduce you to, because there may be something there that to explore longevity and edge rowing as a sport. So remind me, and I'll ping you about
Please
that.
do. Yeah,
So
that'd be incredible.
is there a, I know you mentioned a couple of resources there, but is there a book or a podcast that's particularly influenced you?
Hmm. um I think in terms of like more generally, like one book that just categorically changed my behavior and discipline and everything, which was already good, I would say, when I was rowing, was You Can't Hurt Me by David Goggins. Now,
Oh,
have you
I
read
know
that?
it. I know it well.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Can't put
So,
it down.
was that?
You cannot put that book down. Once you start
Yeah.
reading, yeah, it's an amazing book.
I would always read it before bed, and I'd be so pumped up before bed. I'm like, I want to do 1,000 press ups and like trying to fall asleep and stuff like that. But yeah, I always say when I give people that book, I'm like, don't go 100% Goggins, just go 5% Goggins. I don't want to like, because you're gonna die. Like, but yeah, that one, and like I gave it to my wife as well, and she used to be bad for having her car messy, and she read that book, and then ever since then, her car has always been tidy. So it's like it's because it's not. That's why I talk about it as well, because I'm sure anybody could read it and just it's not just about fitness or whatever. It's like you can improve your discipline so much through it, and maybe if you're starting off as a business owner or an entrepreneur, it could really help you with those early stages of just grinding.
Yeah, that is a brilliant book, a brilliant recommendation. Um, we before we you came on, we were talking a bit about routine, and as an entrepreneur, tell us about your work-life balance,
Mm.
because you're actually already doing what you're passionate about. So how do you actually manage your work
Yeah.
balance?
Yeah, I think one thing my dad said, I remember him saying when I was young, and something probably he heard was, don't find what your dream is. Like, don't think about what's your dream job. Like, no, like if you had all the time in the world, like what would you do with your days? And then find a way, like rather than thinking what's the extreme dreams, like what do you just do naturally? So
Yeah,
that's how I got into this. But anyways, that's less relevant to the question. Um, like I'm an extremely obsessive person. I've been like spoke to a therapist, being unofficially diagnosed as like partially neurodiverse. So like I just really like hyper focus, and
yeah,
I just love being deep into a task and super into just like solving a problem. So like I don't have much work life balance, to be honest. I had to create some separation for sure. Like I used to work 7 days a week. I force myself to not do anything on Sundays now, and Pauline and I will have a little like really nice Sunday routine that we do, which is just a great way to. I'll still be thinking about the business, but it's. I think I heard another good quote recently where it's like you can't be productive and creative at the same time. If you're always trying to do stuff, you can't think of new, like my best ideas have come from Sunday routines and stuff like that. So
yeah.
that really helped grow the business as well. But I mean, I'll probably on average like work 12 hours a day during the week, and then Saturdays maybe work like 8 till 12 or something. So I would say, if you're looking for work life balance, don't look at what I do. So I mean,
You're
it makes it.
super fit. You're super fit as well. So
Yeah, yeah. It's part of the job, I guess. But that was another thing as well. Like I, when I quit rowing, I just went straight into sitting at a desk, 12 hours a day, and just like no, I realized I wouldn't even like move for like 4 hours. I would just be so
wow.
focused on and then like just my body would randomly start to ache in ways that I hadn't before, and I'm like, oh right, I just haven't moved. So that was a thing. Actually, is probably a bit more about the work life balance is creating time for myself, like to feel good and to go for runs. And it's so easy to just put off like going to the gym or whatever. I just learned that I didn't like the way that I felt when I wasn't exercising. I just feel
Yeah.
so like longer term, yeah, I would just feel worse and worse. So I learned that through trial and error. I think that's, you can hear the advice from other people, but I think you kind of need to feel what it feels like to not have the work-life balance, or to kind of maybe have the motivation to find work-life balance. So
Yeah.
that's, yeah, it's a good, actually you brought that up because I hadn't thought about it like that. So
I think really as well, once you've been at a certain level of fitness and there's life changes that happen, some are out of our control as well. But as an entrepreneur, I'm not sure whether, because I've been in both as an employee full time and now an entrepreneur, and sometimes it's really difficult to, you don't get the same sort of freedom as a full time. The point being is that when you're used to being at a level of fitness and then you, like you said, you've stopped, how do you then mentally find your way back to again, because life's
yeah,
changed and moved on so much? So how do you manage that mental, that psychological shift?
yeah, a huge thing was like I was doing my rowing training for a goal for to achieve, my full potential in the sport, to go for an Olympic gold medal. So everything was like built around that. It wasn't healthy what I was doing. Like my testosterone was like I've never had it checked and stuff, but all the symptoms were just, through the floor, like drained all the time. You only feel healthy like 3 weekends of the year when you taper to peak for a race.
Wow.
Um, but I remember I used to, when I did back squats, for example, I would stand with my feet narrow because that replicated the foot plate in a rowing boat.
Oh
And that
wow.
would like being closer to pushing. So I remember the first time I went and did a squat after rowing, and I went into that narrow stance, and I was right, I'd take this stance because that's the foot plate and that's going to help the boat. And then I was like, wait, that doesn't actually, like, no one cares anymore. That has no relation at all to like what I'm doing. And it was kind of like this weird moment where I was like, I'm not actually doing this for anybody, or like not for anybody, but for a goal. I'm doing it for my health. It
Yeah.
was like, so it was weird getting used to that. And that's when it became so easy to just throw it to the side. But then, you mean tying it back to business, just being healthier, like helps me feel good and work, and getting back into the sport a little bit now.
Yeah.
I can resonate a bit more with my athletes and what they're going through. Getting on the rowing machine once or twice a week.
Yeah, and having that the background experience of rowing as well is going to help you naturally with your coaching, for sure.
Yeah, yeah, for sure. And I think that's when we look to expand with coaches now as well. We're like, we need to have coaches that have competed at a high level, because there's a lot of great coaches out there that didn't, and
Hmm.
have been, done well. But I think you're definitely missing like an edge when you've not competed at a high level in the sport. And that's what we try and teach our athletes is how to go about it in the way that some of the best rowers in the world did as well.
Mm. So for our listeners, Jack, do you have any final words of wisdom or encouragement? Anything else you want to share about edge rowing?
Yeah, I don't know about words of wisdom. I've definitely got words, but yeah, I don't know. Like, honestly, just if you've got something that you want to go for, like, what is the worst that can happen? Like, a few of my friends and stuff like that, or family members come to me and they see what I've done and they have these ideas. I'm like, yeah, I mean, that sounds great. This is what I think could work. Obviously, I have no experience business mentoring, but I'm like, there's such an opportunity, especially online, social media, to connect with people. Like just go for it. Like if it's something that you're passionate about and you get fired up like talking about it, then think about it like you're doing a disservice to other people out there that you could be helping. And just get really good at what you want to do. Get obsessed about your, figure out what it is that your kind of ideal customer or client, what are their problems, how can you solve them, and how can you just keep level like Jeff Bezos was the
Yeah.
Amazon package. Like just get obsessed with it and just go for it, because the worst thing that can happen is you're going to fail. And it's a privileged position. I could take this risk because I had a supportive wife and supportive family. So
Yeah.
I totally, there's so many people out there that don't have that privilege.
Yeah.
So that's the only place I can speak from. But if you do have that support, then yeah, I would say you're missing. You would regret it. That's the thing for me. With my rowing, it's like I just don't want to have any regrets or what ifs. I want to
Yeah.
say, and now I know, like I quote, failed at rowing. I didn't achieve my goal, but I have absolutely zero regrets. I did everything I could to get there.
I would say that I would argue and say just a point that you've been successful because you actually rowed for your country. So when people talk about success, it's not sometimes always about the end. It's about the journey. That's another thing that they say. So you fell because of whatever your goal was. However, success because you've been on this absolutely phenomenal journey.
Yeah, yeah, and like on paper, there's probably still things. The Olympics. Some of my friends have got the Olympics in 6 months, and I'm sure I'll be watching it, being a bit bitter about it. But I have absolutely no regrets about like
Mm.
the decision to quit, which is a whole nother story. But like I was like at the end of my career, I was like, I literally don't know what else I can be doing to go faster, and I was like, I felt very, very fulfilled in being able to say that.
Oh, that's amazing. Do you do webinars and any events online?
I'm actually doing one tomorrow. Actually, yeah, I didn't even think about that. Tomorrow at 2 p.m. UK time. I don't know how you could find this, but
Send it to me and I'll post it
oh,
out.
amazing. Yeah,
Mm.
yeah. Anybody that wants to see how we get people, if there's anybody, you've been on the gym, on the rowing machine, slide up and down a few times and you kind of like it. Or if you're a rower, obviously, if you want to find out, it's going to be about how we get our athletes results and everything that we do to get them
Yeah.
the results. And that's going to be published, yeah, well, live tomorrow. I'll send you the link and stuff if you
Yeah,
want to
send
check
us
it
the
out.
link. So there's the book recommendations and send the link, and we'll just get that round and see if we can um share it with us, and we'll be happy to
Absolutely.
spread the word far and wide. We're at the top of our time already. It just goes so quickly.
It does, yeah.
Jack, it has been an absolute pleasure for you coming on the show, and I'd love to hear about your journey in a few months' time. We'll probably contact you, come on again, and let's see how
Yep.
things are going. I'd love that.
Yeah, thank you so much, Maxine, for putting this on and putting out the invitation to just have, obviously before just like total strangers to come on. I think that's awesome what you're doing and sharing people's stories and stuff like that. It's very
Thank you.
inspiring. And I think, you're creating a platform for people to take inspiration and chase, dreams, I think is pretty cool. So thank you and
Thank,
keep up the great work on your end as well.
thank you so much. Take care. Until
Okay.
next time.
Yeah, of course. Yeah. Cheers, Maxine.